What's up, guys? I'm back with another editing tutorial here, this time of a local church's sanctuary. We designed their website for them, so we took these photos to use there. So we'll hop right in. I shot this using the HDR method instead of the flamboyant method like I normally do, mainly because the room was so huge and I couldn't really use a flash from one side to the other, and I didn't want to do window pulls on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 windows, plus there were some behind me. So I went with the HDR method here, and you'll see 3 different photos that we're going to blend together. First one, this is the I don't know if you'd say highest exposed, but this is the brightest photo at 1/60th of a second. F4 ISO is at 4000. We're shooting with the Sony a7 III, so we can handle a high ISO very well. Also using the Sony G Master 12-24 f4 lens, and we are at 13mm here, so almost zoomed all the way out. Second photo, can see is at 1/60th of a second and f4 as well, but we turned the ISO down to 800. We have our third picture, which is the most underexposed or the darkest picture at 1/60th of a second, f4 as well, and then we have our ISO all the way down to 125. So the goal of this picture really was mainly to focus on the windows to get that detail back there. I've got the detail in the rest of the room in the other 2 pictures, so this one was mainly for the window exposure. So we'll hop over here. Automatically, always start with highlights and shadows. Usually pull the highlights down, pull the whites down. Gonna pull the shadows up. See right there behind that pew, I'm gonna pull that up. Pull the blacks up some, just to even out this photo, to adjust the overall exposure there. And then we're going to add our lens correction before we blend. Hop to our middle image, same thing, highlights down, trying to get some of that detail in the window there. Pull the shadows up some so I can see a little bit more detail in the back of the pews there, so whites and blacks follow. Adjust the overall exposure here, and so you can see on this picture here that the most of the exposure is in the upper part of the histogram here, so the highlights, and then in the photo we're working on right this second, most of our exposure here is in the mids. And then on our last photo, pull the shadows up, pull the blacks up, and adjust the overall exposure, mainly exposing this picture for the windows, and you'll see in the histogram there, most of our exposure is in the shadows. Lens correction, forgot to do it on this one. So now we've got middle, or top, middle, pull that down a little bit, and then shadows. So we're just going to use the HDR merge built into Lightroom here. I use auto align, auto settings. I set the deghost amount to high and click merge. So here we have, right here is our HDR image. So it automatically sets some of these settings. I'm going to adjust them again, the highlights and the shadows. I typically just like to flatten the image out, so highlights down, whites down, shadows and blacks up, just until I kind of see an overall see detail in the overall image, from the shadows to the highlights. So from under the pews all the way to the bright windows, I want to see all of that detail. I'll push the contrast up, which is going to make this picture look very warm and very magenta-ish. So we're going to adjust the white balance here. It's looking good. And some of these vivid colors will adjust in the HSL tab. I'm gonna adjust this clarity just a little bit by pulling it down, just so that image doesn't look so harsh. Add some detail back in. So now in HSL, so I'm gonna pull these sliders to the extreme like always. That shows me where these colors are hiding in the image. And pull the red down, pull the orange down. Definitely pull that yellow. Pull the yellow up a little bit, pull the greens down. See, these are not in the image. Okay, that blue there in the ceiling. So the ceiling wasn't blue, it was white. So we're gonna pull that down. And these colors that don't show up a lot, I typically just pull those down just to kind of reduce some of the color noise, because if they're not in the picture a whole lot, then, I mean, we don't really need them. Just our hues here with the reds. I want to push that up into the oranges. Pull the yellows down. Yeah, maybe just a hair. There's not much green, so that doesn't really matter. The blues, actually always pull the blue down more toward the aqua. And then let's adjust our luminance here. So you see the yellows mainly in the lights, those banners at the front. I'm gonna brighten those a little bit. Pull that orange. Let's see, it's a lot of the wood tone there. I wanna brighten that. The reds, it's gonna be the carpet and the seats. Pull those down. And then the blues you can see is pretty much the whole ceiling. Some in the walls. I'm going to push those up a little bit. Magenta, especially in these two back rows here. Alright, and we're going to throw some sharpening on it. Add this mask, because we don't want to sharpen the carpet. Add some noise reduction. Lens correction just to be safe. Let's crop this image. Make sure it's nice and straight. All right, here we have it, guys. So, kind of our before. And this is what we're working with now. So just brought a lot of highlights, or a lot of detail back into the highlights, put some detail back into the shadows, adjusted our color and exposure a little bit, and you know, you get a much nicer image as a final product. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're interested in photo editing, real estate, anything like that, I would love if you would subscribe. So that you can get notified when new videos are up.